I made the Boycott Bandai Namco poster. I didn't do it to start a witch hunt, or did I think that this boycott hashtag is gonna topple an organization like Bandai Namco? I did it because the wrong people were getting the blame for One Punch Man Season 3. And if you care about the show and the people who are making it, hear me out before you post your next tweet. I made a simple, clean poster in Photoshop in about 5 minutes. That's it. The only circling image at the time looked like AI mush. I posted it so that people would have a graphic to share that didn't have a message of harassment. In my post, I actively say, point the blame in the right direction. Nor am I claiming ownership of the movement. I'm not organizing rallies. I'm not calling on for pylons. All I did was I created a poster in Photoshop in 5 minutes. A visual to help cater this conversation. I'm loosely supportive of the boycott. I'm upset on how the IP is being handled, but I'm upset more about where the anger is landing. Every time quality dips, the internet will always sprint to the nearest target. The studio name, the director, the animators who created the shot, the creative minds that are publicly attached to the IP. We almost never know the timeline, the budget, or the conditions that those individuals were given. Those levers are pulled by decision makers above the production floor. When you dogpile artists, the work doesn't get better, and the creative process gets locked away from the public. Meanwhile, the folks deciding schedules don't even feel the heat. That's wrong. Right? The poster was my way of pointing out that criticism towards the people who actually choose the time and the team and make all the money. The reality of the situation is boring. A single fandom really dents a conglomerate's bottom line. But what they can do is damage a company's image or PR. The goal shouldn't be to topple Bandai and make demands of Bandai. It should be to make the backlash as visible as possible. Bad PR and public perception is basically the only way we can make this campaign remotely successful. I've seen the demand list for this boycott posted by many fan accounts, many of which I follow and have followed me in the past. These demands list as swapping studios immediately, issue a public apology, redo season 3. I get why fans want that. I'd love a do-over, but this is essentially a ransom note. We don't own the IP, we don't control the contracts, mid-season especially, nor can we control if they're going to redo it or not. A conglomerate like a committee is not going to spin around and accept all of these demands just because a few people on Twitter say so. More realistic goals need to be set for this boycott. And its organizers need to kind of relax for a minute, and if they're going to pursue this, do it with a more level head. More realistic demands might be for acknowledgement for the backlash publicly, commit to making changes in the Blu-ray releases, and publicly share what you are changing. Something you could push for is a longer schedule. See, these things are set by the committees based off what they think we want, but if we as a fan base can actively voice that we are very willing to wait for quality, then we might get more time. But that's basically all I have to say on the boycott itself. I probably won't have too much involvement with it personally, other than using it as an example of what went wrong with this season and who to blame. My personal goal with the boycott isn't to hurt anyone, really, but primarily it's to protect JC staff, its staff, and the freelance animators that they're hiring for this season. It's to shield them from the nastier discourse they get. The faster people are going to burn out due to the backlash. I want that pressure to be applied, but applied where it's going to make a difference. At the companies deciding the scope and resources of the anime. There are many choices that JC staff make that I don't personally agree with. Personally, I think their post-processing teams like compositing and lighting really need a good bit of work. But at the end of the day, those limitations are vastly affected by time and budget, something that Bandai Namco fully control. But what can you do without being a prick, without harassing people online? Don't threaten and, actively bully people. If an animator decides to hype up their section, let them. If they get your hopes up, well, to be honest, that's on you. You're the one who's getting pissed off at a media that you like. A perfect example of this happening is Van Oba. This is a guy who was exceedingly passionate about his role in the anime. He was really happy with what he did and hyped it up with Twitter posts with illustrations for you. This is a guy doing it for the love of the game. This is a grinder. This is the type of guy that we want working on One Punch Man. Someone who's passion actively seeps out of his work time and into his personal life. It was really clear that in this week, he was fully absorbed and invested into One Punch Man in everything he did. These illustrations aren't something that just take you a couple minutes to do. They're pretty fucking good, and he posted them every day. That passion and dedication to the IP you love should be rewarded, especially because he actively didn't really hurt anyone. You're the one who got your hopes up, not him. Stop blaming other people for how you feel. And another big thing that you can do is to be realistic. The boycott won't topple a giant. It can, however, force a conversation in the right room. And even if nothing changes, redirecting the blame away from the animators and the creatives who are trying to create a project that we all want to love, that in itself has enough value for it to exist. And why a boycott might not be the best answer to this situation, here's a really reliable take on as why. This is from @DailyPeakAnime. He says, I'm about to say something that most people won't like, so please read the entire thread. I've changed my stance on the boycott for Bandai Namco. I no longer support it. I've interacted with many Japanese fans, and here's why I've changed my mind. A production committee is made up of several companies that work together to make a show happen. The company with the most influence or contribution is always credited first, in this case Bandai Namco. Over 6 studios in Japan have shut down and filed for bankruptcy. That's why Vincent Chansard says that studios rarely reject projects. Turning one down can damage their reputation with major corporations and even lead to their own downfall. If we boycott Bandai Namco, it means that we won't buy or use any of their products, including merchandise or anime, as I said. If they see the anime isn't generating revenue, they'll just simply cancel it. A show being cancelled affects many people, and to be honest, most participants in the movement pirate the anime. That means no money goes back to the production committee. As I mentioned before, I've spoken to many Japanese fans, and they all suggest raising issues through the proper channels, and at least supporting the franchise by buying merchandise or watching the anime legally. Here's what I'm urging everyone to do. If you can buy official One Punch Man merchandise and manga volumes to raise your concerns through the proper channels, simply calling for Bandai Namco boycott could harm many people and their families. Should we stay quiet and enjoy a bad adaptation? No, but we also shouldn't start movements without considering the consequences. I hope everyone reflects on this and are free to leave your thoughts down below. So this post covers pretty much everything I was going to cover in this video, so I decided to include it here. As Western fans, we're stuck in this predicament where we want to voice our opinions and have them have some form of positive effect. But as Westerners, we don't understand the systems at play when it comes to the anime production. And to be honest, localized people don't have insight into those production committees either. But what we're ignorant of is how animes make their revenue and how most Westerners pirate anime. Because I'm telling you, I've watched a lot of anime and I haven't paid for all of it. So realistically, if you're pirating an anime, you don't really have any right to say it's crap because you didn't pay for it. You stole it. There was no goods or services that you earned and had a right to complain about because you didn't buy it. You've lost nothing other than your time, and that is your choice. However, what can you do with the outrage? How do you spin it in a positive way? Because the hate going towards the animation studio is just not helpful to anyone. And for me, that's what the boycott was. It was forcing it in the direction it needed to go. And I will continue to use it as such. I don't support this boycott as an actual boycott. I think a lot of what it's asking and stands for is based in ignorance. But it is a banner for that hate to gather behind and to be pointed in the correct direction. Let's see what some of the fans think. This is the reason why other anime get love and we don't. As One Punch Man fans, we need to do better at buying Bandai Namco merch, books for One Punch Man. And whatever they do, put out for One Punch Man to show that we care about the series. If not, Bandai is going to give us the same thing that they gave for season 3 all over again. As fans of the series, think about why do you think Pokemon and One Piece and Dragon Ball get love? Their fans buy their merch and their games and their cards. As fans, we need to remember that Bandai is a business company. If they don't get their money out of their IPs, they're not going to invest or care because they're not making money from it. So it's just going to stay on the shelf. Zane says, I'll stay on my piece. I don't wish for anyone ill or for them to lose their jobs. But what guarantee do we have as consumers that they will improve the quality if we buy more of their merchandise? I'd rather anime get cancelled than risk it becoming worse. If you agree with what I said, share the video around. See, send it to your group chats and see what other people think, because a lot of people are talking about One Punch Man right now. including me, I've kind of been trying to milk it on my channel. And if you're one of those twats that just wants to get angry about One Punch Man, go for it in my comments. You know, give me free engagement. I don't care. But if you actually, you know, want to criticize something I say, or you disagree with me and you want to be a decent guy and just have a conversation down there, I'm more than happy to have the apps. So, you know, subscribe and I'll see you later, I guess. Bruh, no. So if you want to talk more, join the Discord or leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.